Hi guys, welcome to my YouTube channel. Today we are going to talk about 10 tips for a happy and thriving marriage. Tip number 1 is date your spouse. I know you've heard that 1,000 times from pretty much anyone who gives advice on marriage, but there's a reason they tell you to date your spouse. Because it works, it helps, it energizes your marriage, it gives you that break that you need. Date your spouse. Go to the movies, go on a hike, do what you love, sit with each other, look in the eyes of your best friend, and share some quality time. Don't talk about the kids, don't talk about the finances, don't talk about the stresses at work, whatever it is that's bothering you or you're having to deal with, just let it go for the night and date your spouse. Think about the good days when you were dating and how life was carefree and all those moments that just bring you back to the reason of why you chose this person. So date your spouse. Number 2, speak well of one another. This one can be tough if you're going through a hard patch. I understand that. But honestly, you want to talk well about your spouse to other people. If you are constantly saying the bad things about your spouse or how awful they are at this or that or how they treat you this way or that way, the people around you are not going to like your spouse. And 1, 2, 3, 4 weeks later, a month or two down the road, you're going to want those same people to love your spouse the way that you do. It's going to be very hard for them if you've painted a horrible picture of who that person is. So be careful about what you say about your spouse. And if you do need to vent, find someone who is mature enough to handle it and who can help make your situation better and not make it worse than what it already is. So look for the good, look for the positive things, and tell the world the positive things about your spouse. Number 3, tell each other the truth. My husband and I are really good at this one. Sometimes we're maybe a little too good at this one. We tell each other the truth about everything, whether it's, how we feel about a certain situation, how, if I make him feel uncomfortable about something or vice versa. We let each other know. We have good, clear boundaries about what works and what doesn't work as far as our emotions and feelings with one another. So talk to each other about it. Don't be afraid. Don't hold it in and then blow up on them one day. Well, you should have known, blah, 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 blah. Well, tell them. Tell them so they know. If you feel unappreciated, just tell them, I just wish you would every now and then say you noticed me in this way. Just speak the truth to your spouse, and it should bring you closer together. I know sometimes if there's a lot of tension, it can make things worse, but come from a pure heart, come from a sweet heart. Don't come at an angle of frustration and hating them. Just get your heart right and then share the truth. Number 4, know your partner's love language. This is really important. I love the book by Gary Chapman, The 5 Love Languages, but if you're going to read it about how to be a better spouse, not reading it for your own personal love language, because if you read it looking at your own personal love language, you're going to feel like, well, my spouse never does enough to fill up my love tank, and then it can make things a little worse. So make sure you read it from the right place, trying to improve your ability as a partner and not nitpick at your partner. So it's words of affirmation, touch, time, gifts, and acts of service. And knowing your love language is great and fine. One of mine is gifts, and I know that sounds kind of shallow, but it's not like I want big gifts. I just want to be thought of. It's more of you're thinking of me, and that makes me feel special. So knowing your love language is fine, but you need to focus on your partner's love language. If I give gifts to my husband, he really doesn't get all that excited. He doesn't like to get gifts. He's not one of those people. He loves acts of service. So if I bring him a plate of food or refill his drink or whatever, just as an act of service to him, he loves that. That makes him feel appreciated, and it just makes him feel special. So you have to kind of concentrate on the area of your spouse's love language, and don't give love in the way that you enjoy receiving it, because 9 times out of 10, it's not that person's love language. Opposites attract. So anyway, number 5 is a tip from my husband. His addition to this list is protect your marriage. He is very protective of our marriage in a good way, in a good sense. He, is looking out for me. His eyes are open. He's aware, and I am with him as well. We pay attention to interactions and the way others are interacting with one another, and we protect our marriage. We have guidelines. We have set boundaries that, I don't want you to do this because it makes me feel this way. And he'll say, well, you can't do that. Not that you can't do this, but I don't want you to do this because it makes me feel this way. And because we love each other and respect each other, those are our guidelines to protect our marriage. Marriages need that. If you don't have boundaries, you need some boundaries. It's, God's word to us is love and protection. It sounds like rules, but it's really love and protection. And so if you can understand it from that point of view, then it makes sense. We all need boundaries to protect us. So protect your marriage. Number 6, find a mentor. I haven't done an excellent job of this, but I do like to pick the brains of people who are doing it well. So I think that's just it. Find somebody who is doing marriage well. Find somebody who's doing life well, who is seeming to be happy and joyful and content and peaceful and handle stress well. You want those kind of people in your life. You want people in your life who have been there and done that and are succeeding and are happy and joyful and know how to do this thing called life. We need those people. So seek out a mentor, seek out a marriage couple. If you guys are on board together, seek out a couple. If you're kind of struggling along yourself in your marriage, find a woman or find a man who could be your mentor that can help you along with the process, that has your best heart in mind, your best interest in mind, and can see things in a neutral way, not a one-sided way. Number 7, pray for each other from an unselfish place. We're very good, especially we wives, about praying for our husbands. But a lot of time the underlying prayer motive is, God, if you would really fix this in him, it would sure make my life easier. I am so guilty of this. God just corrected me on this a few months ago, and he was like, you've prayed a lot of prayers for your spouse and for your children, but were they from a heart of love or were they from a heart of selfishness? And so I was like, ouch. Yes. So we need to pray from a heart of love for our spouses and kids, and not have that selfish motive, because when we ask in selfish ways, our prayers are unfruitful. So pray from a place of love and not selfishness. Number 8, forgive. Forgiving is very difficult to do, not the easiest task in the world. But in marriage, you are going to have to forgive time and time again for different things and for unmet needs, and just in general, you're going to have to be a forgiving person. My best advice for that is to make a thankful list about your spouse. I know it sounds cheesy, it sounds corny, but if you can list out all the things that you have to be thankful for regarding your spouse, it will help you to let the anger fade a little bit about the things that he's done wrong or she's done wrong. Just make that list, make it big, have it available so that when fights and arguments come up, you can go and grab that list, because in the end, you want the marriage to work. You want it to work. You want to be happily married. So you have to kind of refocus yourself and forgive. Number 9, have a servant's heart. I've talked about that a little bit in one of the earlier tips, but having a heart of a servant is absolutely vital to a marriage, to any relationship really, but a marriage especially, because you are taking 2 lives, joining them together for the long haul, and yes, it is possible. So you have to have a servant's heart. You have to have a heart of, how can I help him today? How can I help her today? What can I do to make their week better? What can I do to show love more? Just asking those kinds of questions instead of, well, why isn't he doing this for me? Or why isn't she doing that for me? It's going to totally flip the script of what your marriage is all about. If you can turn it around and say, how can I do this for this person? Maybe you're feeling a little unloved or a little unappreciated. Flip the script. Stop thinking about yourself and show him appreciation. Show her appreciation. Show her love and affection. And see if it doesn't produce some good fruit. Number 10, how do I say this without embarrassing my mom and dad? Sex. It's important. Make it a priority. So, these are my top 10 marriage tips. Let me know what you think. and let me know what other things you would like to hear about.